Hello, everybody. Welcome back to One Leeds, and welcome back to another discussion video. Really, I put on that. Me and Brownie were just talking off air, so I put on the schedule a little bit of a change. But yeah, sorry for a little bit late. We'll go on a little bit longer. Don't worry. But thank you for everyone joining. I can see there's a load of people in the comments straight away, and it's first time me and Brownie have been together in about 5 weeks. I mean, we're not together, but hopefully that will come in time. But yeah, first time we've been on a stream together in about 4 or 5 weeks, so it's great to see you, mate. But thank you, everybody, for joining. We're here to discuss the relevant news and get Brownie's thoughts as well, guys. You've all had my thoughts, as always, on absolutely everything, pretty much every single day as well. But I think it's right to get Brownie's opinion. We've not had Brownie on a video for a while now, so I think that's definitely prevalent. We're going to be talking about Raphinha. We're obviously going to be talking about Calvin Phillips' move. But first of all, David, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. It's been nice to. I drove past Alamoda the other week, and I was like, "Oh, it's nice to drive past and not have any worry about what's going to happen." It's just been. I think everybody's just been, after the season we had, just grateful for a nice little non-Leeds United few weeks, to be honest. But I think everybody's starting to. The fixtures have come out now, and I think we're ready to go again, aren't we? We've had our little time to get over it, party after Brentford, and now I think we just want to get stuck into the new season. And it's going to be different, isn't it? Obviously, like we said, we've got the Phillips news, the Raphinha news, we've got the 3 new signings already. So it's going to be a bit of a new era. Is that the right way to put it?
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it?
It feels like the start of, we've had the Bielsa period, and now I think it's Marsh's time to really see what Marsh is all about. So it does feel like the start of a new dawn, doesn't it?
It does, mate. It feels really weird, doesn't it? I mean, we'll get into the Calvin news, but it does feel very, very odd at the minute. I mean, doing these rumor videos every day and looking at the players that are going to be going out and the players that are going to be coming in, the players, Brownie, as well, mate, that are probably now going to be on the bench. We've got Aronson's come in. That's probably going to displace Click a lot from the side. Potentially, if we get another attacking midfielder, which you'd hope we are going to be doing, Christensen, obviously, naturally, when Ayling's fit, that's going to displace Luke Ayling. And then obviously Rocker, and there's probably going to be no real place in the midfield for Adam Forshaw. So a lot of change, mate. What have you made of the signings so far? Anyway, what have you thought? Are you happy with the business? Sort of 3 signings in 4.5 weeks?
Yeah, I'm glad we got some business done early. I don't want to turn into Red Bull Leeds. I'd like to see a couple of players coming from elsewhere. I think the Aronson deal was already done in January. I thought obviously we were trying to get that done. The Christensen deal looks a good deal. I watched him. The only bit of football he's had is the internationals, hasn't it? And he played against France, looked quite good. He's starting right back for Denmark. I think he played in a bit of an advanced role as well in one of the games, so he can play up and down that right-hand side. Look, I love Luke Ayling to bits, and he will always be part of that Leeds, again, that era where we got promoted and everything. But I think if everybody was honest with ourselves, I think that was starting to be one area that we did need to sort of improve if we were going to kick on to the next bit. So we are starting to fill gaps where we needed them. Everybody's greedy out. I would like to see maybe 3 or 4 more come in, especially if we're going to lose Raphinha and Phillips. Listen, we stayed up by the skin of our teeth, and 2 of our, arguably, 2 of our best players are leaving by the looks of it. So we do need to really strengthen. But if we reinvest that money wisely, because there's going to be a good pot of money to go at, like I say, it should be a bit of a new era and quite exciting to see what happens.
Yeah, I think it comes with a bit of trepidation, doesn't it, as well? It comes with a little bit of nerves. Like I was thinking the other day, obviously we'll get into the fixtures, of course, next, but when I was thinking, we've had that sort of Bielsa comfort blanket when we've started most seasons, unless we're coming up against, Man United, we've started seasons quite quickly and well, and it's just a bit odd now, isn't it? We've had like 4 seasons of Bielsa and that comfort blanket, and now all of a sudden that blanket's been well and truly ripped off, and it's into a completely new era. And it's weird, isn't it? Because we've still got obviously players to come in, players are inadvertently going to be going out as well, so that we can't really talk about predictions and stuff like that. But is it more excitement for you, or are you still feeling a little bit nervous for the start of the season with the new boss and so many changes?
Yeah, it's the complete unknown, really. I don't think any Leeds fan at the minute really knows what to expect. Like, if we were to put a prediction league up, I don't think any Leeds fan could really say where they expected to finish. With the squad as it is, with Raphinha and Phillips going, obviously we'd be in a bit of trouble. But I've got full belief that that money will be reinvested. Well, it has to be reinvested, doesn't it? That money, it has to go back into the squad. But I think everybody's happy that for once Leeds have done a bit of early business. It's pre-season hasn't even started, and we've got some new bodies through the building. I fully expect a few more to come in. We're getting linked with some exciting names. It's not like we're in the market 10 years ago where we're looking at signing Luke Murphy for £1 million. We're now talking about international footballers coming to Leeds, and that's what we've wanted for a long time. So yeah, I guess that part of it is exciting. But we're in the big league with the big boys, so we can't miss a trick. We've got to be at it from minute one.
Yeah, you sort of in that expectation as well now that Leeds are, like as the boss said, you know, we're looking upper. We're not looking relegation anymore. We're not looking at battling. I know it's easier said than done, but battling down there. And I know people are going to be a little bit upset about Phillips and potentially Raphinha. But I mean, as I said, we'll get into that. But the expectations that are put on this manager and this side now, surely, is to be, you know, consistently looking at top 10, you know, looking to replicate others' models, which we keep, you know, being spoken to about during seasons. And I think this is where that level's got to increase, Brownie, surely.
Yeah, I think obviously we've done the whole second season syndrome. We've been in the league 2 seasons now, and this will be our 3rd season. Personally, at the minute, I don't see us being top 10. I don't want to be in a relegation battle again, but I think we'll be in that comfortable middle zone with the likes of where Palace were this season, and obviously Leicester finished really well, but they were always with their Europe campaign there in mid-table area. I'm trying to think of another team that finished in their comfort. Newcastle in there. I think they'll kick on again though. But I see us being in that 10 to 14th bracket in that middle band, which I think after last season, I think if we were offered that now, I think we'd all take it. Because I do not want a season like we've just had, because it was pretty horrific. Yeah, we had that brilliant day at Brentford, but I'd much rather have been not worrying about the scores and having a laugh at other teams conceding on the last day rather than being involved in that. But yeah, it is still early days. One thing I am a little concerned on, it's the only concern I've got, and it comes off the back of last season. Pre-season, we've got 3 games organised. That's it. I thought pre-season last season was horrific. We played that Real Betis at Loughborough. We had Fleetwood, Guiseley,
Villarreal as well,
and Blackburn.
Villarreal as well, Brownie.
Yeah, but them 4 games I mentioned, we had them all in 1 week. I remember going from Fleetwood on one night to Real Betis the next day, and it just seemed like pre-season was a bit of a shambles last year, and our season started that way. It really did. We didn't get a win for so long, so I would like to see a better pre-season, and the only games I've seen scheduled are the ones in Australia at the minute. But again, we're still in June, aren't we? So still early days, but yeah, I feel a bit excited. Like you say, there's new players coming in. Yes, it will be sad to see the back of Phillips and Raphinha, but I think we kind of all saw it coming, especially with one of them. I didn't think we'd get rid of both in one window, but it looks that way. It'd be interesting to see from the comments who, if they could only keep one, who they'd want to keep.
Well, I'm going to ask you that question. That was my next question. We'll get into it. Everybody get your thoughts in. Brownie, I don't know if you've watched my video yesterday, but went on a little bit of a rant when it came to Phillips, and I put my opinion out there. I was just essentially telling people to calm down. You know, life is, you know, we do have life after Calvin Phillips, and Calvin Phillips isn't the be-all and end-all. That's no disrespect to him, of course. He's been an excellent servant for Leeds, but, you know, we can go out and do business. I mean, overall, mate, the transfer looks like it's about 45 to 50 million. And if you're taking into account absolutely everything, the add-ons, etc., etc., are you happy with it, mate? Did you think the fee was a little bit low? Are you a little bit?
I think the fee's low. I think the fee's low. I do. People will say a defensive midfielder is easily replaceable. I agree. It is not easily replaceable. But you can go out and find a defensive midfielder. At the end of the day, they don't score goals, they don't assist. They're there to break up play. I think
easy than signing a striker, isn't it?
It is, of course. Goals win games. That's why I think Raphinha will be harder to replace than Phillips. Not taking anything away from Phillips. What I will say is, in that England squad at the minute, if we were to go to every club in that England squad and went, there's 42 million, I don't think we get a single England player for 42 million. That's my opinion. Any England player in that squad, I don't think we can get for 42 million. So I'm struggling to understand why the player who got England Player of the Year is the cheapest. That's my point of view. And listen, I might be wrong. People might come up with, you could get him for. I don't see any England player, especially England midfielder. So you look at Rice, Bellingham, who else is in there? There's Phillips, maybe Henderson because of his age. I get that one.
James Ward-Prowse.
Other than that, I mean, I think if you went to Southampton with 40 million, I think they reject it.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would.
So I don't understand why we're accepting 42 for Phillips. I mean, I know there's a few price brackets around. I'm disappointed. I'm okay with the transfer. It's just the price. I fully expected him to move on. I was a bit more optimistic when he did his interview in, March time, when he went, I want to stay at Leeds for as long as I can. I don't understand why he would say that and then 3 months later be accepting going to Man City.
Yeah, Steve, not your brother.
No,
Steve.
I completely get that, but we've heard this whole argument about you've got to support Leeds United, not Bielsa. It's the club that comes first. So why is it different with transfers? At the end of the day, we're Leeds United. We should take whatever's best for us. Yes, Phillips has been brilliant for us. So has Bielsa in the same time period. But we have to support Leeds and not put Bielsa's thoughts at the front. I just think.
I know what you mean. I'm a little bit more like, because I mean, I'm hoping, this is what I'm hoping, and this is what I was saying on yesterday's video, that the club have negotiated this in a way that they think, right, okay, we're going to get 45 to 50 million, let's say. And I'm hoping the club are turning around and going, right, he wants to go to City, clearly. He's been a real servant for us. Yeah. He didn't go to Villa. He didn't go to Spurs in the Championship. That's loyalty. He wants to go to Man City. Tottenham have come in with 55 million, 5 million more, but we feel like we can afford to let him go to Manchester City and still do the business. That's what I'm hoping.
That's okay if the fee is 50. I mean, the first one that came out was 42.
Yeah,
42. 42 is a shambles, if you ask me.
Yeah.
50, 55, I'm more okay with. Now, you might say nitpicking. That's another player. We look at Firpo. We signed Firpo for 13 million. That's another player for Leeds United that we can get him through the door. On the flip side, Manchester City is not a bad club to be on good terms with. Look at the Harrison deal. I think they did a good deal for us. They kept letting us loan him for like year upon year upon year. It's not a bad club to get into bed with. If there's like, as if you want to put a metaphor out there, it's a good club to have a good link with. And Phillips.
Do you think looking at him, mate? Like, I know what you're saying about the business side of it, right? And I know he's an England international and all this sort of stuff. But do you think, from what we've seen in the last, 12 months, obviously he's not played 50% of the season. When he came back in the Jesse Marsh side, it looked like he was still carrying. I didn't think he was 100% fit, to be honest with you. And I thought he was all right in the system. He wasn't stand out. So we know going forward, I don't think he's going to be as like he was in the BL system, or probably like he will be in the Pep system, because it's so expansive. It's so different to what Jesse will be playing. But do you think overall, as a player, we could have got more than that? Because I'm not 100% sure we could have. You look at his age, as I've said, you look at his injury record.
See, I was in that camp with the injury record. I really was. But since Leeds got promoted, Leeds have had 82 games. He's been in 69% of the squads. He's played 64% of them. And since Leeds got promoted,
I saw, mate, that he'd played. I mean,
I've done it myself. I've been through it.
I thought he played 49 out of 76 Premier League, not 76 Premier League games. I thought it was 49 out of his last 76 games.
So since Leeds got promoted, there's been 82, and he's played in 53. That's including. Right. That's including. He played against Crawley. He played against Crewe. He played against Hull in all the cup games. So he's played 64% since Leeds got promoted. But he's been, like we saw him as an unused sub at Wolves, unused sub in a cup game against Hull. So he's been in 69% of the squads. Now, it's not his fault he hasn't been brought on. So some of them games have been cup games where he's don't need been needed. Since Leeds got promoted, he's played 76 games for club and country. He's played 23 games for England. So in 2 years, he's played 76 matches. So I was in the camp of this injury record. It's only been the last 3 months of this season. Well, towards it. And because I thought he misses a lot of games. So then I looked at it, and For club and country, there's been 114 games for England and Leeds since Leeds got promoted. He's been in 72% of the squads. 82 squads he's been in out of 114.
I think the season before last, I think even when we're in the Premier League, obviously the first season, I think, as you said, like, he wasn't in the squad. I think in the squad and injuries, I think it was 9 games, and I think this season it's been best part of what, I mean, it's been ridiculous, hasn't it? So,
well, he got injured in the Brentford game,
yeah,
just before Bielsa went, and he came back in the Wolves away fixture, but he didn't come on. So he missed about 3 months of this season. But yeah, I mean, I was firmly in the camp with he's quite injury prone. He's missed a lot of games. But then when I've looked at it, out of the last 114 games for club and country, he's been in 82 squads.
I guess as well, it's the bulk of them that he misses. He normally misses. It's not just. It's not sort of spread around the season, is it? Normally with Calvin, it's a bulk injury, and he misses a section of games, which and it's not his fault, but it's huge. They're hugely important games, aren't they? Normally,
yeah. Which takes me on to the next bit, which is where again we're going with the transfer. It's how important is he to Leeds? How important is he to us? So I looked at like win ratios. So that the 53 games he's played for Leeds in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
we've won 43%.
But is that? Do you think that's also because he's a fantastic player? He was in the Bielsa system as well, but we've got nothing around him. We've not bought a central midfielder, as you've quite rightly said, in 9 windows. So it's almost like if you maybe had someone who was
could replace him with,
yeah, like a good replacement. It's like, would the win percentage, would it have been that biased towards Calvin Phillips?
I hear you completely. Which is another reason why he's important to Leeds United, because we haven't got anybody else to go in there. Like, obviously now we've brought in Rocker, we've got Aronson. Are they a defensive minded going to sit and do what Calvin Phillips does? Aronson definitely not.
Aronson definitely not. No.
But he missed 25 Leeds games. He missed over the last 2 seasons. He's missed 25.
I think that's quite a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. Yeah, so in two seasons, he's missed 25 games.
Yeah. But Brownie, people love comparing Declan Rice as well. People keep comparing Rice to Phillips. If you look at the amount of games Rice has missed, Rice he barely misses games.
And again, he's got an England career. He's playing in Europe. He played in a lot of the European games, did Declan Rice. But the thing that concerns me is in them 25 games, our win ratio was 20%. We won 5 out of 25 of them games he missed.
Yeah.
That's what
they've got to sort out, isn't it? That's what they've got to sort out.
That's what I've got. So if they're going to accept him going, they've got to look at and think, well, when he's not played, we've won 20% of our games.
Yeah, I agree. They've got but that's where because we've said this a number of times. I'll tell you, just let me get in this comment straight. Bradley Pickles, thanks for your donation, mate. Phillips lacks pace, dribbling, and doesn't have the greatest touch. For me, he's limited to how you play him. Take the money and move on. Dan Slasher has said, Brownie, I saw you boot a taxi on Friday night. Don't know if you know anything about that. Did you boot a taxi on Friday night?
Wasn't me, mate.
But
I was tucked up in bed.
Yeah, but I can.
On that, I've had plenty of comments with yourself. I've had comments with my mate who goes to a lot of Leeds games, my brother. If the bid would have been 55 million as a starting point, I'd have took it.
I'd have taken 50.
I'd have accepted. Yeah, go on then. Go and play your football. Due to the games he has missed, 25 is a lot out of 2 seasons. I think 25 is a lot. But I mean, you forget he's played a lot of England games. He's got 23 England caps as well. So that's half a season. So,
like you've said, mate, so has Rice, and Rice has got European games as well. Yeah,
of course, yeah. But
I said as well, don't compare people. I'm doing that exact thing because you have to, don't you? You do have to compare. But
this England career has taken off in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
it's something he's not used to. He's played 53 games for Leeds and 23 games for England since Leeds got promoted. He didn't have a break, so he played a full Premier League season, did the Euros, then did another Premier League season. He's not alone in the players that have been injured this season. I'm not just talking Leeds, I'm talking across the Premier League. I think that's why they've introduced the 7 sub rule, which is a story for another day, which I think is a shambles. But these players I know it's the job. I know the fit. They didn't get a break in the summer. There's no coincidence that them players have got injured this season.
But that's not going to change. That's not going to change, is it? It's going to get worse.
It is going to get worse with this World Cup coming up. It's going to be in November, December. Then they're going to play through. I mean, I couldn't believe the scheduling I've seen on that. So the World Cup final is on a weekend, and then there's a League Cup. Is it 4th round on the Wednesday? So they're not even getting. So they're coming straight back into it. I mean, that is another caveat to injuries. But yeah, I when I was looking at it, I thought the numbers would be a lot worse for Calvin with the games missed. But like you say, when he missed them games, it was a big chunk. It wasn't missing 1 or 2. It was a big chunk. What I will say on the price front, because obviously we've gone down the injury route. If Kevin De Bruyne missed 25 games in the last 2 seasons, would 10 or 15 million come off his price tag? If think of another midfielder, another top midfielder in the Premier League, anyone, Foden, if he missed 25 games in the last 2 seasons, would 10 or 15 million come off his price tag? I don't think it does.
Do you not think?
I still think you're paying top dollar.
Yeah, I think you're paying top dollar. Yeah. No, I do think you're paying top dollar still. For
if Rodri missed 25 games, would Man City tell him for a knockdown price? I don't think they do. So I'm not too. That's the. There's a lot of reasons why I'm not comfortable with that 42 million. But if it's the 50 upwards, then I think it's a good deal all around for Phillips and for Leeds.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, mate. I mean, I've very much come on the other slant where I've just said, look, if Leeds are comfortable with it, if they've got targets in place, then, central defensive midfielders, it doesn't bother me because CDMs don't go for a lot anyway. I mean, I was looking at the, I think Calvin now slots into the top 6 most expensive defensive midfielders in the last 20, 25 years, whatever. And, the ones above him in the Premier League are Rodri. The ones in general, it's like Tchouaméni, Arta. But, Fabinho was less than him. Fabinho was less than him when he went from Monaco to Liverpool. Yeah. So I know there's a lot of different caveats, but I think it should make Leeds fans feel a little bit better when they look at the list of defensive midfield. They're not snazzy signings. They're not attackers. People comparing Grealish and all this sort of stuff to Calvin Phillips. There's no point in comparing that because Grealish is in a completely different position, which is more attractive and they're generally more expensive. But I just think overall, mate, if the club as long as the club haven't been completely mugged off and they think, oh my God, but we'll never know that, we will never know. But I'm hoping that as Luke McNally said here, KP was not going to fit the Marsh system. I do agree with that. I think he'd have fit, but I don't think he'd have been as good as he was under Bielsa and what he will be as good as, under Pep. You just said, good luck to him. We can get better replacements for less. And I think that's it, Brownie. If we can go out there and spend, 10 million on a CDM or whatever, then we can spend 15 million on another midfielder like we have done so far. We spent 10 million on Christensen, 10 million on Rocker. It's out. You don't have to spend 30 million on a player to get a really good player, do you? So I think it is achievable for Leeds to go out and make the squad much better with that money.
Well, listen, we got Raphinha for 17. There is players out there. I completely agree. You can't compare, and I've seen it. You can't compare Phillips transfer with Grealish transfer. Goals win games.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Attackers get paid more money. Strikers get better wages. It's the rule of football. It's just football. A centre forward is going to get a bigger wage than a centre back, unless you're Virgil van Dijk, someone of that ilk. A striker is going to get paid more than a defender. I'm not one for comparing transfers either because Basuma went to Tottenham for 22, 29 million. So then you look at that transfer and you think, ooh, Phillips deal's quite good. But then you look at Ben White going to Arsenal from Brighton and he went for 50. Every transfer is different. And it comes down to your contract as well. Exactly. Phillips would have been going into next season and he'd have had, his contract runs out 2024. So come the end of next season, he'd have had 1 year left. So that could play a part of it as well. Ben White had just signed a new deal at Brighton. So he had 3 or 4 years left. So when you're looking at a contract, Phillips, I think when he signed his new deal, he wasn't a big hitter at Leeds. I think it was around 30. I think that was reported around 30k a week, which mega money. But when you look in the Premier League, it's not. And if he's got 2 years left on his contract, you've got to obviously times that by the length of contract that's left. When you look at Ben White, he had, what did he sign? A 4-year deal? So Arsenal had to buy out that 4-year contract effectively on top of his transfer fee. I've seen Dan James went for 32 million. So we're saying Calvin's only worth 10 more than Dan James. There's good and bad transfers everywhere. I just feel that this one was a little bit low, just a tad low. But like you say, I don't think we'll ever know the true value. I saw Graham Smythe tweet it was 50 to 55, and then that David Ornstein tweeted 40 to 45.
I think I've said on here, I don't know about you, but I spoke to someone who's pretty decent on the City side, and he reckons that probably is the fee, the 42 plus 3 in terms of add-ons. But he said it could be 50 to 55, but there could be add-ons which Phillips is never going to get to. Do you see what I mean? So Leeds might be given 5 million by Manchester City if Calvin Phillips gets 150 England caps or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Things that are going to be difficult for him to achieve, then they'll get that sort of, when people are talking 50, 55 million. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's the move he wanted, but yeah, if it's a 42, I think it's a little bit low. I think it should have been 50.
I think if he'd have had a full season, I mean, Joel's just said it here. He said Calvin played 52% of the Prem games this season, 20 out of 38. He missed 15 Premier League games in a row. I think if he'd have had a full season, or even if he played 34 games, whatever it was, 34, 35, I think Leeds United would have got. I think we'd have got 50 slapped on. I think there's an argument we could have got 55. Calvin could have got player of the month, let's say. We'd be in a much better position, obviously, because, the midfield. Bielsa might still have his job. These are all factors that come into it. So it's, mate, I think there's a lot into it, really.
There's a lot of ifs and buts. I mean, didn't we turn down 30 plus when we were in the Championship? And that was before he'd even...
From Spurs and Villa, 30 million.
And that's before he'd even played for England or had 2 years in the Premier League. So then you look at that and think, well, hang on, is he only improved by 12 million?
Yeah.
And I think that he's improved by more than 12 million in the last 2 seasons.
Well, it's an interesting point from Harvey. Can't stress Connor's continual point enough about Radrizzani's ambition of turning us into a Leicester, of cycling good players out and bringing in potential for less. Thank you for everything, KP. Yeah, I think it's a good comment. I think that's it, Brownie. I think you sell KP, you sell Raphinha, Leeds in a strange way are in a healthier position because we have to be able to spread that wealth within the squad. We always talk about depth. I think if Calvin had have stayed and Rafa had have stayed, there's just absolutely no chance we'd have really been able to thicken up that squad. So you're hoping now. I mean, I saw on the airwave. Yeah, I don't know, mate. I think if Radrizzani's basing it on the Leicester model, which he literally said this last season, he said, if we stay in the Premier League, we're looking to replicate what Leicester do. Leicester sold Mahrez, Kante, Maguire. They were the big three. So, and then they got all of that money and they renovated it back in the thickness of the squad. They've now probably got a better squad overall. I know, the squad is all about the sum of its parts and all this sort of stuff, but, those individuals were winning them games. Now they've got a squad which is, they had a poor season this season, but I think they'll be a consistent top 10 squad, really, Leicester. So that's the model. So if he's saying that, they have to sell on these players, and then they can, improve the overall health of the size of the squad. Surely,
I get that to a degree, but then you've got to trust that the money that the spending is good. And when you look over the last few years, Raphinha aside, I'm not filled with much confidence that they're going to splash it on. 30 plus for Dan James.
Yeah, well, they've got that. There's no bones about it. You spent 30 on Rodrigo. They spent,
there's 60. So don't buy them 2 players and keep Phillips. You don't. When you're saying you have to sell your players to get them, just spend it better.
Yeah. I think.
What would people rather have, Rodrigo and Dan James, or keep Calvin Phillips?
Yeah. I guess it's hindsight in it because we bought them in a year ago, 18 months ago, and now we've let Calvin go. So the board might have even thought to themselves, we're going to keep Calvin and get rid of Raphinha. I bet that was an eventuality. That is what they were thinking at points. They were probably thinking, if we can keep one and we'll get rid of the other. But unfortunately, mate, it's the way of the world, isn't it? The way
it's going at the minute, Raphinha's not really. There's nothing concrete that he's going, and that was the other question: who would you rather keep, Raphinha or Phillips? And
Do you want to get onto Raphinha? Just before we start, mate, Brownie, you're not going to believe this. We've got 1,300 people watching live. So this is
people have missed their football. People have missed their football,
and I don't think it's just Leeds fans. So guys, make sure you're subscribing as well. We'll be getting Brownie on a lot more. Thank you so much, everybody. Please like the video; it means it gets shared. And keep getting your comments in. We'll try flash a few up. So I know there's a lot of people in here wanting to speak about Raphinha. Right. Okay. Let's see. This one would upset me a hell of a lot more, because I think we've got a genuine world-class talent here. Arsenal fan, he could have fit into that Man City squad, in my opinion. Even in that starting 11, he could have been the one to replace Mahrez in the long run. That Arsenal squad. The problem is with this Arsenal team is, and this is the logistics of it for Raphinha, he's clearly getting really frustrated with Barcelona. Barcelona are chances and the clowns, so they're not going to offer up the money. For me, when I'm looking at this Raphinha situation, if he goes to Arsenal, he ain't a rotation option with Saka, because Saka's going to be on the right. So Rafa's on the right as well. Rafa's a much better player than Saka. It's going to be harsh to hear for a lot of Arsenal fans. There's a world-class player there, and you've got potential in Saka, but he's not on Raphinha's level. He's not. For what Raphinha's done for us, he can do it all. He's done it for Brazil. He's kept Leeds in the Premier League almost single-handedly. When everything's firing, he's absolutely brilliant. His passing is incredible. The striking of the ball is insane. You know, his chance creation, mate, he created 155 chances this season. Imagine if we'd have actually had a striker on the pitch. I just think that he's got to really think carefully about this, because if he goes to Arsenal, it's going to affect his World Cup chances. Because if they start to play Saka ahead of Raphinha and they're turning around and saying, oh, well, it's rotation, or they put Raphinha on the left, which is where he's completely ineffective in comparison to how good he is on the right, they're missing a trick. I mean, what are your thoughts, mate? I think there's an option for him. If he stays at Leeds, has an unbelievable World Cup, Arsenal could come. We know Arsenal are shocking with money normally. They could come in January, have a panic buy. They're not doing that well in the Premier League, and then slap 65, 70 million down, whereas now they might only look to 55, 60 million.
Now, this is where you can compare transfer fees with, with the top players, because, I mean, I've said this numerous times. I've been watching Leeds throughout the Champions League days from the early 90s. I think my first game was about 92, 93, around there. He's the most talented player I've seen in a Leeds shirt.
Yep.
I've said that throughout all of last season, the season before it. Harry Kewell is the only one who comes close. I know we can't say his name too loudly, but he's the only one on his talented wavelength. He starts for Brazil. He'll start for Brazil in the World Cup with Neymar. If anything,
Brownie's had his debut for Brazil. This is his debut sort of season. He's played 9 games, scored 5 goals, got about 3 assists.
If he goes for anything lower, like you say, 65, 70, I think that's even a steal.
Yeah.
Anything lower than that, and then the board have had the pants pulled down, because, like you say, imagine if you've got a striker. Now, I'm thinking Arsenal. I'm thinking the other side of London. If he's going to move, Tottenham, they're in the Champions League. You'd have Harry Kane in the box to supply shots to, and you'd have Son on the other side. Now, that would be an unbelievable front three. Son, Kane, and Raphinha. I'm not trying to sell him. I want him to stay at Leeds. I want him to be at Leeds for the rest of my life. But if he's going to go, I don't see why he would. Yeah, Arsenal, established Premier League club, great club, good stadium. In London, I can see the attraction. I can't see the attraction of... He could have the pick of where he goes. He really could. He could pick any team in the Premier League. I genuinely believe that. I can't believe Liverpool, since Mane has gone, I can't believe Liverpool haven't been sniffing. I think he would place him nicely. If I was Raphinha, though, and I had my heart set on Barcelona, and this is where the cynical part of football comes in. If you had your heart set on Barcelona and you knew they couldn't come in this year, I'd stay at Leeds for a year and go next year at a knockdown price, because then he'd have 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if I was Raphinha, because Barcelona, they ain't going to come in with 70 million. They just can't do it.
No, they can't.
They're trying to get Lewandowski,
aren't they?
Yeah, they can't do it financially. I'd be having serious words with my agent Deco if I was Raphinha, because he's touted him. He's been his pimp. He's pimped him everywhere.
He's Brownie. It's all his clubs, though, isn't it? He said the other day in an interview that he favours Chelsea and Barcelona. Who did Deco used to play for? It's Chelsea and Barcelona, isn't it?
I mean, I get the Chelsea thing. I get the Tottenham link. I get the links. Like you say, he's been linked with the best clubs in the world at the minute. Like for stature of where they finish in the league tables and Champions League and stuff. I don't understand why he would move to a team that aren't in the Champions League. Arsenal won't finish in the top 4 this season. They had the chance this season and didn't make it. Tottenham under Conte will go on again.
Yeah,
Liverpool and Man City ain't budging. And then you've got Chelsea, don't see dropping out of the top 4. So he'd then be signing at Arsenal for what? He's not going to sign a 1-year deal. It's going to be at least 3-4 years. Then Barcelona will never get him.
Well, that's Brownie. It's the biggest move of his career, this, because he's done Sporting Lisbon, was there for what, a year, then went to Rennes, got bought by Leeds. So he's been a year everywhere he's been. If Arsenal go and get him, he's got to be really careful. And LJ's just said this. He's got to remain patient. Jesus is a good fit for Arsenal, but Raf will be making a terrible decision. And this isn't from a Leeds bias. When you're looking at his career, if he wants Barcelona, if he wants Real Madrid, which he clearly does, he's got to remain patient because, as you've said, it'll be a knockdown price. He might have a great World Cup, which might knock it up a little bit to 5 million, but they could be looking at a completely different price in the summer. And Barcelona play a 4-3-3, so they fit his system completely. If you've got the option, if you're going to say, so Arsenal fans aren't going to want Saka on the left. He's more productive on the right. He's a better player on the right. Rafa is a better player on the right. He's much better than Saka. So,
personally, Connor, sorry, I think Martinelli's better than Saka.
Yeah, I do.
From the games I've seen, I think
on that left he is.
The 2 Leeds games I've seen against Arsenal, well, we played them 3 times, but in the Martinelli absolutely tore us to pieces.
He did. So
if you're going to move one to the other side, well, where's Martinelli going to? So I don't get from their perspective why. It reminds me a bit like Man United a few years ago.
Yeah.
They needed to strengthen their defence in Man United, and they were just buying like strikers, Sancho, Martial. They didn't need them.
Yeah.
I don't see why Arsenal need Raphinha.
They don't. They're actually, if you look at it going forward, when you're looking at Saka, when you look at Martinelli, you've got Odegaard there. Obviously, you've got Emile Smith-Rowe on the bench. You've got Nketiah now, they've signed down, and all this sort of stuff. They don't need Raphinha, and they are going to. I mean, there's a guy in the comments here. I think he's an Arsenal fan. Not Mr. P. We'll get into his comment, but he keeps saying 55 million, and it's done. He ain't going to be going for 55 million, mate. Leeds have said everything. The starting fee is going to be between 60 to 70 million. So Arsenal are going to be spending that sort of money. Then they're going to be spending the Jesus money. It's absolute lunacy because Leeds are not going to get. People might turn around and say we've been knocked down for Calvin Phillips. We ain't getting knocked down for Raphinha. Leeds are absolutely resolute when it comes to Raphinha. You can see that across every outlet. Romano's reporting it, Phil Hayes reporting it, all the Ornstein's reporting it, all the top journalists out there. So, that is what it is. Leeds are not knocking down on that guy. So Mr. P said contracts should have extended for both during the 2020 or 2021, or at the end of the season we finished 9th and should have shut the deals for Raphinha and Kepa. The problem was with Raphinha, we didn't do anything in January. So if we'd have done something in January and shown him that we're ambitious as well, and shown him, or even in the summer before, like we've spoken about, if we were ambitious and we went out there and we thought, we're going to get 9th again here, but we didn't do that. We didn't match his ambitions, and that must have really narked him off. But back on to, Daniel's just said he's a City fan. He says Raphinha is at least a 70 million pound player, 55 million. Plus add-ons, it's not going to happen, mate. No chance. Saka is better than the whole Leeds team. Well, no, he's not, because we've got Raphinha.
see, on the Saka thing, I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't see him week in, week out. So Arsenal fans have clearly got a better understanding of their players, just like we've got a better understanding. We see Leeds players week in, week out. Chelsea players, their fans see their players week in, week out. From an Arsenal perspective, how much do they see? If someone came in for Saka, how much would they want for Saka? Has anybody ever seen him have a good game?
You're going to light him up now.
Like I say, I am not an Arsenal fan. They see him week in, week out. But the games I've seen Saka against Leeds, I've not been blown away. Martinelli, they might think differently. They might think Saka's better than Martinelli. I don't know. But when we've played Arsenal, Martinelli has tore Alien a new one. He tore Cody Drama a new one. Martinelli's blown us away. I've never seen Saka do that to us.
Nah, mate, they've got a really weird online fan base. Like there's about 5 billion of them who just come in without any profile pictures. And
is that because he's he plays for England. I mean, we've as Leeds fans not been blessed with internationals over the last few years, so we've taken more of an interest in England because Phillips has been playing, because he's an English player. Like Ben White, we like Ben White when he got into the England squad. Is it because Saka plays for England? Does he have? I don't know.
Well, this guy's just said stats don't lie. Raphinha and Martinelli have never done numbers better than Saka. That's the facts. Everything else you say is nonsense. Well, I mean, Saka's played for about, 2 seasons. Raphinha's played for about 7. Raphinha's been the lead side this season. You've been in a top 4 race. You've got quality players in and around Saka everywhere. And Raphinha's got the same amount of goals as Saka this season. That's more embarrassing from a Saka perspective if you're comparing them both. It really is, because Raphinha's done it in a remember, like, bang average.
Raphinha's been playing in a Leeds team.
Saka 80 million. Oh my god!
I mean, that's nonsense.
That's absolute lunacy. It's ridiculous.
I don't think Saka starts for England in the World Cup coming up. Raphinha's going to be starting for Brazil.
Oh my god!
I like that.
I genuinely.
The favourites for the World Cup are Brazil. Raphinha's going to be starting for Brazil.
Yeah.
The Saka thing might be a bit of a, because I only really watch Saka for England, and I have the same opinion of Mount. I think Mount is really good for Chelsea. Put him in an England shirt. I don't think Mason Mount really does anything for England. So Saka, but they are young. Saka, what? He must be early 20s minimum. Yeah. Like maximum, sorry. He's still young, so he has got that on the side of Raphinha. But I think if you put, there's a reason why Barcelona want Raphinha. I've not seen Barcelona linked with Saka.
No,
I must have missed that one. I've not seen them linked with Saka, so I must have been out on that headline day. But Barcelona,
does Saka start every time for England? I don't think he does he? But Rafa starts every time for Brazil. But weird one.
I think if Arsenal got Raphinha and Raphinha was Arsenal's player, I think you'd see a shift of opinion, because I just think Raphinha. I love Leeds to bits, but we have been horrendous this year. Leeds have been awful. And Raphinha has, like you say, he's single. If we didn't have Raphinha in the team this year, Leeds win the Championship next season.
And that's where you've got to compare it as well. That's where you've got to compare it to this is what he's done in his career. He's been part of a Rennes side who were absolutely flying in France, so he's competed at the top level of the French league. He's been in the Brazil national side and delivered straight away, straight off the bat. And then he's been in a relegation scrap, and he's kept Leeds up by himself. So he's got all those facets to his game. You look at Saka, he's been a good player for the Arsenal side for 2 years and been arguably one of the best players. Where did they finish last year? Was it 8th? Where did they finish? Has he finished twice on the bounce? 8th?
Arsenal.
I don't even know. Yeah,
they missed out, didn't they? Arsenal finished 5th. They missed out on the Champions League.
No, I mean the season before this.
Right.
It was 8th, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they've had the squad's been in transition. They've not had a decent side. So obviously Saka's going to stand out.
Well, it's an interesting one. If you put a poll online, who would just not Arsenal fans, take Arsenal and Leeds because they've got that biased opinion. Yeah. Any other club, who would you rather sign? Saka and Raphinha? Be interesting to see who people would rather have.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and it'll become evident if Arsenal do sign Raphinha. They've just got this weird thing with Saka. It's like Starboy. It's a bit strange, but yeah.
Everybody. I mean, we're the same with Phillips. A lot of clubs don't like Phillips, but you always look after your own players. So they're looking at it. He's come through. They're looking after Saka. We look out for Phillips. Man United look after Ronaldo.
But I think we can be pretty objective when it comes to Phillips as well. It's like, someone said it, a Villa fan said it earlier, that we're non-biased when it comes to it. It's just like when we see things like we've seen with Raphinha. I'm not just going to say Raphinha's better than, I don't know, Vinicius Jr. because Raphinha's a Leeds player. I'm not going to do that. I think it's weird. Whereas I think there's several Arsenal fans who just ride on the back of Saka because he's an Arsenal player.
Here's an interesting one for you. Obviously, Arsenal had the Champions League days. They had the likes of Bergkamp, Henry. That's when they were a good team. They had Pires on one side. Is Saka better than them? I'm here saying Raphinha. We were in a Champions League as well. We had Viduka, we had Smith, we had Kuhl, Boyer. They were all internationals. Boyer played for England. I'm here saying Raphinha is the best player Leeds have ever had in my lifetime.
Yep. That's it.
We had Ferdinand. He went for record transfer fee to Man United centre half. Raphinha is the best player technically I've seen put a Leeds shirt on.
Yeah,
he's starting for Brazil. So when you're looking at these, like I was losing my head when I was seeing Romano tweeting about 45 million euros. I was thinking, if Leeds do that, do you know what I mean? That's ludicrous.
Start spotting York City.
Yeah, there'd have been no point.
But Ryan said here, Raphinha needs to be sold this window to get the money we want, keeping him another season. His value drops. With the year left, I'd replace with CDK. Charles the Catalare. A lot of people talking about, allegedly he'd cost Leeds about 26 million. That looks like it would be a good deal. But overall, Brownie, so coming back to the fixtures, we've spoken a little bit about Arsenal and Raphinha, and I think, it'll be a bit of a weird one. I think he should stay at Leeds. I just watch your final view. I think I would, if I'm him, I'd stay at Leeds, wait for my contract to run down. Leeds sell him on for a little bit less, but we get another season out of him, another season where we might be able to finish higher, another season where he's providing the goods. I don't know how that'll work in a Jesse Marsh system, but from his perspective, what I'd do is stay until January, probably the summer actually, and then get a reduced fee for Barcelona. From a Leeds perspective, because we know Arsenal play over the odds all the time, and we know Spurs will probably play over the odds, you'd probably get rid of him, wouldn't you, when it comes to a business sense?
Depends what's coming in through the door, because from a business sense, if you sell him and don't bring anything through the door, Leeds go down. So from a business sense, it depends how much of that money is going to put back into the team. From a Raphinha point of view, let's not forget he got into the Brazil squad playing for Leeds. He doesn't need to move to get in the Brazil squad. He's in the Brazil squad anyway. He's going to the World Cup whilst playing for Leeds. So from a World Cup point of view, unless he gets injured, he's going to Qatar. He's on the plane. That's sorted. Like you say, he's played 9 games and scored 5. He's playing for Brazil, so he doesn't need a move to get in the England squad. When you look at Phillips, he's going to Man City. Does he play in front of Rodri? I'm not sure. So he's going to enhance himself. But these two players, Phillips and Raphinha, they're already in their national sides in a World Cup year. Raphinha, it depends how badly he wants to go to Barcelona. Is it Raphinha that wants to go to Barcelona, or is it his agent Deco who wants him to go to Barcelona? Yeah. Because, like you say, Deco just seems to want him to go to Chelsea or Barcelona. If he's not 100% sure he wants to go to Barcelona, he just wants to move to a better team, then if I was Raphinha, I'd be going somewhere with Champions League football, because he can play in the Champions League. And I don't see... I'd have loved Arsenal to get into the top 4 this year, but they didn't. I don't see them overtaking Tottenham now. They've got Conte. They'll keep in Kane. I thought the Kuleveski signing's a good one, and they've got Son. I don't see them overturning Tottenham. I think they'll improve again, like they've already brought in Basuma. So for Raphinha, it's a Chelsea, Tottenham. If Liverpool come calling, Champions League or stay at Leeds for me, and then go to Barcelona next season. If I was Raphinha, because like you say, it's his big move. This one,
huge, huge move. You happy with the fixtures then? Starting fixtures?
I was delighted with the fixtures actually.
Yeah,
because for the last few years we've had like a month of death where we just look at the fixtures and you think we ain't getting a point for the next 6 weeks. Whereas the end of the season is probably the last month is probably the worst, if you had to pick a worse month, and hopefully we're safe by then. December, I think we've got Man City on Boxing Day, and there's someone else in December, but that's off the back of the World Cup. So is it a good time to play Man City when all their World Cup stars aren't properly back? Maybe. But the start, a nice home game, it's... I don't want to be in a situation like last year where we were looking for our first win and we were in like October or something daft. People in the comments will probably remember, but it seemed a long time till we got our first win. It'd be nice to get a good start.
Yeah, well, I think the only end point, which is a little bit worrying, is that end month. Really, is it May, where we've got? I think it's a killer month, isn't it?
Yeah, there's West Ham away in there. I think there's Tottenham in there. Man City away, is it? They're in there.
Yeah.
It's not nice, but hopefully we're not sat around our walkie-talkies at wherever we are on the final day, hoping for goals to go in. Hopefully it's done and dusted by then.
Yeah, definitely. Mate.
What do you think? What do you think to the start?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good one. Like, sort of, you're looking at 8, hopefully 9 points, aren't you? I think obviously Wolves. You know, surely you got to be looking at picking up all 3 points there. Southampton, we've got a fair better than we did last year. Jesus Christ! I mean, you know, you really are hoping that we can go down there, at least get a point, maybe even a win. Chelsea at home, you know, that sounds terrifying. Of course it does. It always will do. But Ellen Road now, you know, we've had a season with the fans. Hopefully we could maybe pick up a point, but it's just got to be better, hasn't it, Brownie? It's got to be better than how we ended last season, because how we ended last season was just atrocious. But we're all going to be positive. We're all going to be hopeful. But if we continue getting upgrades on a lot of our players, we're going to be going into this season. It's going to be a very different mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Like I said, it's a clean slate for Jesse Marsh. He had to pick up what he was given. He had to get the results he needed to get. It wasn't pretty. It didn't need to be pretty. Just needed to get the points on the board. Whereas he's got a full summer. He's got they are his players. Two of them have come from Red Bull, so it's going to be more of a Jesse Marsh stamp on it. Phillips and Raphinha go. You're looking at way over 100 million. So he's got a nice transfer kitty to play with, and just hopefully he uses it wisely. And it's just a nicer season, because it can't get much worse than last year. Jesus.
Well, I guess it could, couldn't it?
No, we're not going there. We're not going there. The standout for me, like we've both said, is there's no batch like Bielsa had that saw him the sack, where we had Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Tottenham. There's none of that. There's none of that back to back. The tough games are sprinkled in with nice games around them. I think we play Liverpool or Man City. One of them, we've got Fulham to follow it up. The nice games around the tough ones. We never had that this season. I said this season, last season. Last season it was just horrific. We just seemed to be banded big bulks of tough games together, and it looked pretty horrific on paper, and then it was even worse visually. So the fixtures look nice on paper. Like the comment says from Jamie, though, he does have to hit the ground running. If them first 6 games don't go the way they go, off the back of last season, then
well, it's a huge risk, isn't it? It's a huge risk doing what we've done. We've changed the style. We've probably changed the recruitment strategy when you look at Christensen and Aronson, and more probably to come in maybe from the RB network. And it's a huge risk, because if he starts the first 6 to 10 games and we're not picking up points, and we're not picking up good results, especially with that run of games, then it's not we're not going to have this Bielsa affinity anymore. If Marsh doesn't start well and it's poor performances, fans are going to get restless very, very quickly. So I mean, let's not hope like that. But I agree with Jamie. I think especially in those first 6, the pressure's not on straight away, but in a strange sort of way, it is, Brownie, because we have to pick up points, because there are winnable games there.
They are winnable games. There's no easy games in the Premier League, but they are winnable ones. It's a clean slate for him, like I've said, and we'll see how it goes. The players have got to it, not just on Jesse Marsh. The players have got to up the game from last year. I thought the players got an easy ride last year. I thought Bielsa got hammered. I thought Marsh got hammered, and the players kind of took an easy ride. To be honest, some of the performances the players put in weren't anywhere near good enough. The mistakes they were making, and that's not just on the manager. That's on them as individuals. But the new players as well. They've got to adapt to the Premier League.
I know.
We're saying bring him in. Can't bring too many in at once. But if we lose Phillips and Raphinha, we're going to have to. So they need to be blooded pretty quickly. And hopefully Bamford's back. We see Patrick Bamford, and we don't see a hologram for the whole season.
We can't have him out.
The thing we forget about, we forget we've got Patrick. He'll be like a new signing.
He will. Yeah, he will. Andy says 27 more likes of 500. Yeah, guys, there's 1,300 of you in the building. Make sure you're smacking a like on that video. We should be at least seeing 800 likes on there. Bradley said, do you think we will take the Oz tour seriously? Good question.
I hope so, because they're the only friendlies I hope so, because they're the only friendlies we've got penned in at the minute. Well, this is what I said early on in the video. We've got no there's been no announcement on friendlies in England.
No.
There's none lined up. So I hope so. When does it start? When does
they're at pre-season? They're the pre-season tomorrow, aren't they?
Are they in tomorrow? When do they go to Australia?
I think it's in about 3 weeks.
Right. So you'd like to think
you'd expect them to get a couple in maybe before that, wouldn't you? Or maybe one in before
hopefully.
that.
I don't think we'll see like when the last time we went to Australia and we had half the squad in Australia and half the squad in England. Didn't understand that.
I mean, like, as Brasley said, well, this is the thing as well. Like this is. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Brownie, but they've got to be doing. They've got to be getting a lot of the players in by this point. I mean, it's the 14th. We're playing Brisbane out in Australia, and for me, you've got 3 in, but you need a lot of your signings pretty much done by that point, because you need them all to like have a little bit of cohesion when they're out there and playing together and really getting a vibe for the place.
Which is why, I mean, Phillips looks like it's deal done. But the Raphinha thing, I don't want the Raphinha thing to drag on all of July, start of August, and it'd be like one of these deadline days you see on Sky Sports or BT or other sports providers are available. I don't want it to drag on. If he's going, go. Get the money in so we can sort ourselves out. We always seem to do, like the Dan James thing seemed very rushed, last minute. I'd rather see it done and dusted so the players can adapt to Jesse Marsh's way early doors. That's a good point. No kits. What colour kits do people want? I mean, I've got my opinions on the recent ones.
Not been great, have they? Not been great. That home kit last year was absolutely atrocious, but there you go.
That purple thing, whatever, lilac.
That wasn't great either. But yeah, mate, we'll leave it there. I've been going for about an hour. Really enjoyed it. As always, some great numbers for a Sunday. Clearly, everybody's thinking about Raphinha and Phillips, so it's been great to check in again. But yeah, mate, we'll have to sort something out very soon as well. We'll get you on and we'll start talking transfers again.
Lastly, Connor,
go on.
Do you think Raphinha goes, yes or no?
Yes, I do. What about you?
Yeah. So on the end of that, how much do you want for both of them? What would you be happy with both of them? Pot of money, both of them. Have you got a figure in your head?
For both of them, if you're combining the transfer fee, I'd be happy with.
See, I wanted 120 for both of them.
Yeah, I think. Well, if Phillips has gone for 50, let's say, which we're hoping, if he's gone for 50, I think I'd be all right with. I won't be all right with it because I want as much as possible, but 65 for Rafa, so probably 115, I think.
Yeah, it's 115, 120.
Yeah,
and then go splash it all on.
I don't know. I'm just hoping they don't do this add-on crap, which I've got a feeling like that might come into this Arsenal deal, but I'm hoping they don't. But yeah, everyone's saying
splash it on Mateo Vidra.
Yeah, guys, we'll end it on that. Thank you so much for joining as ever, and yeah, we'll see you in a bit. All right, cheers.
Down.